What an incredible Bassmaster Elite Series event here at Wheeler Lake. There was so much to see and a whole lot to learn as well. So with that in mind, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive with our Humminbird Unlock the Lake.
Why don't we start it off, Davey, with our day one leader, the guy who set the tone for us. We weren't sure how many 20-pound bags we would see this week, but when he brought 22 pounds to the scales, we said he must have found a school offshore. No, we didn't say that. We said John Cox found him up a creek somewhere, his style of fishing, and boy, did we think that we'd see 20 bass weighed in on a frog this week from one angler specifically? If not, it would have been him.
Yeah, he's the only one that we may have thought to do that, but honestly, 22 pounds for John Cox, the day one leader. Who would have really thought that the day one leader on Wheeler Lake, mid-June, would be John Cox catching these bass less than 2 feet deep, most of them on a frog. But that's what John Cox does, whether he goes to the Tennessee River or the New York swing. He is going to find a way to catch fish shallow, not using his electronics, but just using his instincts, using his eyes. And he found the right patch of milfoil back in this backwater pond, the very back of Spring Creek. In fact, it's the back of the back, beyond the back, where John Cox caught these fish. What a great event for him to have. Tennessee River, top 10, John Cox doing it his way.
Meanwhile, Tommy, Davey, we've got the other 4 anglers fishing close, if not on, the Decatur Flats, places that we know in history have really factored in. Alex Wetherell, Connecticut angler. I believe this is his first time to Wheeler Lake. And boy, he has gotten better every single day. One big thing we noticed, the way he retrieved his big worm throughout the week was much different than other anglers.
Yeah, definitely had a different retrieve, but the way he started this event and the way he finished this event got better and better each day. Kind of later on in the day, he's one of the anglers that would catch fish later in the day. Most of the anglers that we've seen on camera in the top 10 were just the opposite, especially Cliff Prince. He's catching all those fish before 8:30 for the most part. But Alex was out closer to the main river. Really, if you did your homework coming into this event, looking at mid-June, Tennessee River, you would think this is where you should be. And a great tournament, a top 10 is always a great tournament. It's probably going to be the best finish he's had in his Elite Series career. But these fish are just now getting out there where Alex and a few of these other anglers have fished in the top 10. Great event, making the best of what he had. The largest percentage of bass were just not quite out there yet.
Same goes for John Garrett. Seems like he was building, he knew what to do. He's a Tennessee River rat. He knows from Kentucky Lake and all the other lakes on the chain, Pickwick, things like that, places he has a lot of experience. He knows that they should be out there at this time, but we talked about it at the beginning of the week. Wheeler is just different than some of the Tennessee River lakes. It often stays higher in the spring. Fish maybe spawn a little later. So in June, they're not as deep as they would be on other lakes, and so they weren't quite out to John Garrett, but the last few afternoons has been his best window.
Yeah, he was fishing out closer to that main river. Here's a big key, I think, for Alex and for John, that they were able to go and graft. They've not a lot of experience. It really surprised me John Garrett didn't have much experience here on this body of water as maybe I thought he would have, but they were able to graft that main river or closer to it, just one bar inside where there's some depth there where they could graft and locate these fish and really learn a lot about this section of the Tennessee River. Up there shallow where Cliff Prince spent most of his time, Ray Hanselman, you couldn't do that with your electronics. It took a lot of time, and I think that's why you see the old school guys that have some experience here chose the Decatur Flats and fished shallower.
We said on that final day coming in, Tommy, that 12-pound lead for Cliff Prince. Who was going to be the challenger? And boy, did second place Ray Hanselman show up.
He showed up in a big way. Cut that deficit early on during the day, and Cliff Prince didn't know it, but he was on the defensive the rest of that day.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't ask for a better start, really and truly, on the final day that Ray Hanselman had. And there's a lot to be said with that, because mentally it would have been real easy for him to say, yeah, my family's here. I'm just going to go out there and do the best I can. I don't have a chance to win. But I think for the entire day, Ray Hanselman was determined to prove everybody wrong that he could make up that deficit and he could win.
We're normally thinking about Ray Hanselman and maybe a big crankbait, deep offshore ledge, but he was up on more of a shallower spot. Really had his back to his electronics all week. Knew a one-cast deal, positioned on it, and he had a two-prong approach. He had the shell bar and he also had a grassy area. He said the shell bar's got bigger ones, it's got my highest ceiling, and boy, 3 over 5 pounds today. got him everything he could have wanted and more.
Of course, our leader, Cliff Prince, as we head closer and closer to weigh-in time. Let's start with him back on day number 3 because it was memorable.
Well, day 3 was a big day for Cliff Prince. He had a great day 1, almost 20 pounds. Day 2 was good, but day 3 was the biggest stringer of the event. It was the day that he, you had to catch a lot of weight every day to win, but this is the day that Cliff Prince won the event. Having the 26-pound day, 26 pounds, 2 ounces, catching the 7-pound, 9-ounce fish. Just an incredible day. And just stop and think about it. He quit fishing at 10 o'clock on day 3 also. So wow, what a morning, what a day on the Tennessee River for Cliff Prince.
If this was a 12-hour tournament, Tommy, 3 hours each of the 4 days of tournament, Cliff Prince would still have the same amount of weight going into weigh-in that he has now because he has done so much work early in the day. And yesterday was a dream day. He would have had a great bag, one of the best bags of the week without a 7-pounder. Add that to it, and you have a monumental day, a day that we all dream of, and a day that has led to him being at the top of the leaderboard in his 14th year with an Elite Series trophy on the line.
Yep, and so to break it down, I think the key to Cliff Prince's success was we've had a lot of rain. It really didn't turn hot until about the time the Elite Series came into town. A lot of these fish were still on Decatur Flats. Most of these anglers spent all of their time or a lot of their time out on the main Tennessee River looking for those fish to be a little further along than they were. These fish were just now moving out, and they have been kind of slowly moving out for the last few weeks. I've been talking to people locally there in the area. These anglers were not able to do that, but I had the luxury of doing that. They've been catching these fish like crazy on the Decatur Flats for the last few weeks. Cliff Prince hit it perfectly. You give it another week or so, those fish will be out there a little deeper where a lot of the anglers that made top 10s, but they just did not have the fish funneling into their shell bars or to their locations like Cliff Prince and Ray Hanselman did. Cliff had the perfect place. I've fished there before. Couple shell beds. You've got a ditch coming in off the Decatur Flat that comes almost up to it, and then there's a little saddle, and then these places just before those fish move out into the river. He was at the perfect junction of the highway. All of the fish coming from Decatur Flats in that general area right there were coming right by Cliff Prince.
Well, what a great effort by Cliff Prince and all the other 9 anglers in our top 10. And there it is for you, right there. Your Humminbird Unlock the Lake.